past 30, past 40 are still paying for student debt.
The stress of just doing the taxes is bearing. What do you have to lose? Do you like where you're at now?
How this is all going to work, how this is going to look as far as the economy and being able to pay you $10,000+ per month. We're talking about a tax-free economy as we are coming together as the people. This is the people's economy. It is so important for you to all understand that the Creative Society has your back. You just gotta come in. You get to use in your life to enjoy. No jokes, no hoax. Welcome back. My name is Dudley Najieb along with
Lennis Najieb.
And you're watching I'm In as we are delving into the Black experience of being human in the Creative Society. Now, Lennis, we've been talking about economics and we had a part 1 to this discussion.
Yes.
And an overview of the 8 pillars. And these 8 pillars in the Creative Society really did an overview of what it's going to be like for each and every one of us to live in life right now. And do you believe that exists right now?
Yes, I do. I believe that it definitely exists right now because right now we need something right now. We're dealing with all kind of issues out here in this world, and we need something.
When it comes to money.
When it comes to money, especially in our community, when it comes to money, we suffer the most in certain inner cities out there where this is a solution for that. So,
but you know what? I had a conversation with my dear cousin, and she said the same thing you did. This was just a few nights ago, and she said, "Yeah, you know, African American peoples really suffer in the United States when it comes to poverty." And then I had to tell her, I said, "That's happening worldwide because I've talked to people throughout the world, and whether it be in Africa, the UK, and Ukraine, it's happening to them too." She's like, "Yeah, I never thought of that."
Yes, I remember when I was in Paris, there was, when I went to the African American areas and everything else, or Black areas, it was the same thing. It was the same kind of poverty, the same type of issues, and it was daunting to me. I couldn't believe it. I just thought it was in America, but it's all over the world.
But the conditions are absolutely worldwide, and what we're finding is that at least beyond the United States, it's not just isolated to Black peoples. That's what I was able to find out in just being able to talk. And that's another reason why it's important to talk to all the different cultures and all the different backgrounds and learn from every one of us, because then you learn you're not the only one. You're not isolated as it's just happening to you. Now in the United States, it feels like it's just happening to us because a lot of the Black and brown peoples, it is just happening to them, unfortunately. But when you get out of the scope of America, you find out other cultures that may not look like us, it's happening to them too.
Exactly.
And we know that by the value of the dollar. We know that by the value of what monies look, as far as the value of money in general. And then you find that it is happening to everyone. And so that's why we want to do an extension of part 2 in the next episode. So we might look the same, but I promise you the information is not. Because today we want to break down how this is all going to work, how this is going to look as far as the economy and being able to pay you $10,000+ per month. Mind you, just to give a quick overview, that $10,000 is not going to your bills, it's not going to your electricity, it's not going to your mortgage, it is not going to your rent, it is not going to your taxes, because we're talking about a tax-free economy as we are being in a consumer-driven economy, which means whatever check we get, we got to spend, whether it be on clothes, whether it be on, like you said, the dental, because you talked about that a lot. You talk about that a lot, so I know it's on your mind.
And also, it doesn't go to your health care.
No.
It does, if you have a baby, it doesn't go to the baby for pregnancy and everything else. So
like the children, right?
Yes.
That's the people be struggling. They have 2 kids because it's expensive nowadays having children. You got to find a way to take care of them, pay for their bills, pay for their school. But if all that is free, you don't have to pay for that. And the health, the replicator, you got the replicator for the food. So what does that X out? The grocery shopping.
Yes.
Hello? Hello? I'm just saying, everybody wants that part right there where you don't have to go to the store and waste time in line. So now you're cutting back down on the time that you get to use in your life to enjoy. Go spend time at a friend's house, travel. Oh my gosh, how many hours do I spend in the kitchen cooking?
Quite a bit.
Wow.
Yes.
So it's those type of amenities why this creative society you definitely want to be a part of. And you can also check us out on blendedtv.me to join this discussion. We're trying to have a forum once a month for you, for those of you who have the questions and maybe you're not getting them all answered in these episodes. Or you can always comment, whether it be on social media tags. Somebody will find it. Someone will tell us, hey, Julia, Lennis, they had a question about this and that and this and that. Okay, we're going to address it in the next episode. And that's the purpose of this coordination center. So what you see myself and my husband doing is an example of a coordination center. You can do one too. You can join ours and get started and then do your own and have these little discussions. Start with 1 or 2 people, 5 people, 10 people. That's how it begins. And we just want to be able to help you in doing that process. But with no further ado, we want to talk about our part 2 of this discussion when it comes to monies and understanding that this consumer-driven economy will not be a part of the creative society because it's about the people and for the people. Let's take a look at this video and we'll stop it in between and have some discussion.
In the transition period to the creative society, each person will have universal basic income equivalent to $10,000 US, free housing at least 650 square feet per person, free healthcare of the highest quality, free education for a lifetime, safety in every part of the world, work 4 hours a day, 4 days a week, paid vacation for 2 months a year, equally high salaries across the world, no taxes for individuals, small and medium-sized businesses, fixed prices on all goods.
When I look at the picture of this kind of the world, a thought comes to my mind. This is incredible. This is incredibly cool. And yes, I want this kind of life. But just like in any person, a skeptic inside me begins to rant and says, first of all, it is impossible to implement. And even if it is possible, it certainly won't happen in my lifetime. And goes on to affirm, no one will let you do this. And you know what I reply to him? You're right. And indeed, he is right in today's economy of the consumerist format in which we exist nowadays. This cannot be implemented. This requires a different economic model. We need to look beyond the confines of the current system. And I invite you to learn about a new model of economy that will provide a high standard of living for every human being. This model has been developed and proposed by experts from around the world. It takes into account the economic needs of each person, technological advances, and the need for our civilization to develop and evolve. This innovative model will change our lives from the first day of its implementation. I want to draw your attention to the fact that its implementation is possible only if the format of society is changed from consumerist to creative. And further, I will explain why. Unlike the current economic model, the new model will have a different goal: to provide the high standard of living for every human on the planet. There are 2 key requirements for the new economic model to function and achieve this goal. The first requirement: the new economic model can only work on a planetary scale. It cannot work in a single country. The second requirement is the self-governing society. All power must belong to the people. The economy, along with other strategic spheres, will also be managed and controlled directly by society, represented by every person, each of us, via the electoral platform. So, we have formulated the goal of the new economic model and outlined the necessary requirements for its implementation. These requirements can only be met in the creative format of society. I now invite you to model the near future. After we have successfully completed all 3 stages of building the creative society, informational, political, and the global referendum, The world community legally and peacefully transitions to the creative format of society that we all have chosen together and become one civilization. From that moment on, it will take a small amount of time to launch the new economic model. 6 months, according to preliminary calculations.
Let's pause right there about that one civilization. You know, I was talking to my dear friend Max. Remember, I probably talked his ear off. You know, I kept asking him a whole bunch of questions. It was like an hour car ride. And what he helped me understand is that before the consumer-driven societies, there were societies that were already had that creative experience that we're talking about here. So this is not a new model or a concept because it has happened before and it has been successful before. And he was just breaking it down, telling me all the different societies where the model that we are going back to or that we should be doing and being able to live as human beings has worked so many times before, and it's just been wiped off the earth as far as the historical nature of it. Or if you don't know where to find that information, which we'll be able to break down on this show, then you would think that, oh, this is so brand new. Because that's what I told him. I'm like, you know, Max, is this a new concept, this creative society? Because I'm just trying to understand it all. He's like, no, Julia, it's not new at all. It has been on this earth before we even existed. And he talked about the different historical times. And you know, you can also check that on Alatra TV. They break that down, the different civilizations where this has happened before. So this is not a new or novel concept. It is a concept that allows us to live, though.
You know, when I was listening to him, he was saying something, will this happen in our lifetime? Will I be able to see it? With all the stuff that's happening now with the climate change, with everything else, how can this be a reality for me? You know, you sitting at home again thinking, how can this work? I'm just so used to the society that I'm in right now, and I'm used to living the type of life that I'm living right now. How would that transition, how would that adjustment take place? And you're wondering, what do you have to lose? This is the question. What do you have to lose? Do you like where you at now? Do you like the living conditions that you and your mother and your father and your grandfather and your great-grandfather had to go through here? I'm speaking here as African Americans in America. Or would you want to transition and say, you know what, let me just jump in and take a chance and see, is this real and can this be possible? Because where you at right now, ain't nothing possible in that situation. You know, it's very, very challenging where you at, depending on who you are. You know, I'm not talking about the ones that are pro athletes or having hundreds of millions of dollars or celebrities or anything like that. I'm talking about the average, basic citizen that goes in and out 9 to 5 every day, struggling just to pay rent, struggling just to put food on the table, struggling just to provide for their children, struggling just to buy shoes, just simple shoes. So, you know, this is an option. This is something where you say, okay, what do I have to lose? That question, what do I have to lose to create and be a part of the creative society and have a better life, not just for myself and my family, but future generations yet to come?
When we look at the experience of our grandparents and also my parents, they work themselves to the bone. Unfortunately, a personal story I can share with you is that my mom died at the age 51 and she worked 18 hours a day. And she was a top bank executive and she always brought her work home. There was never a break. On the weekends she was working. When she was sick and dying in the hospital of pancreatic cancer, she was still working. She didn't want to tell her job that she was dying because she still needed to keep the income coming in. She's on her deathbed and I'm like, Mom, give me those papers. I remember getting so angry, give me those work papers. And she got angry and she said, you give me those papers back. She basically snatched them back from me out of my hand, literally, in this very sickly woman, because she said, I have to work. And she worked until literally her last breath. And then it was later, maybe a few weeks before she died, that her job, J-O-B, found out that, oh my gosh, she's dying of cancer. And she was the vice president of the bank at the time. So that's a real story. I'm telling you, who wants to live that life? How is that enjoying life? It is not enjoying life. It is slaving to life. Is that what we're really meant to be here for? No, it is not. And I'm here to tell you that because my grandparents worked so hard and worked all the time, 3 and 4 jobs. He died of a stroke.
Yeah, you know, my grandmother, she was a registered nurse, and I remember she would do 16-hour shifts as a registered nurse, 16-hour shifts. I rarely see her. And then when she come home, she had a board and care business and had to work that board and care business, and she was just constantly working. I did not really see her enjoying life. I know she had, her feet was always swollen, and she was just tired. And to find out that she had to pay a lot of that money back in taxes.
Okay.
Here, there is no taxes. You know what I'm saying? So the tax part is off. And we was just, even in our business, we were stressed out. And this year long, and it's like, oh God, thank God it was a climate change. And it was a flood in our area because we don't have to pay the taxes or take care of our taxes until October of 2023, October 16th to be exact. And the stress of just doing the taxes is bearing because not only do you have to work hard and then deal with the tax issues, but you got, in our field, it's systemic racism. I'm just being real, that you have to deal with. And who can you go to deal with systemic racism that we go through? Nobody. So you have to kind of deal with that, and it's a very painful situation. It's very painful here in America, here in California, and especially in the city and county where we live. It is extremely, extremely stressful for me and my wife to conduct our business as a Black-owned and operated media here in America.
And the beauty of the Creative Society, there is no racism or discrimination. And we will be going over that technology so that you can understand how you will be safe. I wouldn't just be saying that to you. I'm not just giving you hoopla. No jokes, no hoax. That's what Roy Starr would say. I'm not kidding on that. I'm going to show you and tell you how you will not have to worry about racism and discrimination and having that a part of your life. That will not exist, and safety will exist. You will be stood up for. People will stand up for you as a human being. I am saying this from the bottom of my heart. This is something that is real. So we're gonna watch a second excerpt of this video because we might have to go into a part 3, y'all, like another episode of this, because it is so important for you to all understand that the Creative Society has your back. You just gotta come in. You just gotta be in. Like, I'm in, you're in, I'm in.
I'm in.
And that's what this is about. Just being in, be a part of it. And know that you are an intricate part, a delicate part of this human experience, a delicate part of this Creative Society, and they will help you to feel that. Just like I've been feeling it. Have you been feeling the love?
I've been feeling love.
I've been feeling the
Yes.
love. You've been feeling the love and understanding, and people listening to you and having the empathetic ear and say, I hear you. I'm going through the same thing. And they might be from a different culture. And I'm like, yes, my sister, I hear you. So let's check out another excerpt that we're going to break down and go from there.
From that moment on, it will take a small amount of time to launch the new economic model. 6 months, according to preliminary calculations. After that, we will enter the transitional period to the Creative Society, which will last 5 to 6 years. As soon as we enter the transitional period, everyone will be provided with the monthly unconditional basic income in the amount equivalent to $10,000 with their own housing of at least 60 square meters per person. Education and healthcare will be of high quality and free, as well as resources, electricity, water, heating. All debts will be written off. Loans will be interest-free, and there will be no more taxes for individuals, small and medium-sized businesses. Of course, this raises a lot of questions. Will people work? What will the prices be? Will there be inflation? And the most common and important question, where will the money come from? So let's take it in order. Where will we get the money from in the transitional period to the creative society? In the new economic model, money will be created by a single fund for global financing, which belongs to society and serves its interests. The single fund for global financing will only serve the function of creating and redistributing funds. It will not accumulate money like the funds do today, nor will it make money as the banks do in the consumer model of the economy. There will be no banks in the transitional period to the creative society because there will be no need to keep money, because money will be exclusively digital. In fact, there will be no money in the conventional sense of the word. These are just numbers and equivalent for exchange. That's your assets. You can exchange them for something, a product, a service, and so on. The more the economy grows, the more means of exchange, what we now call money, are created. In contrast to the consumerist format, all financial transactions will be open and transparent to everyone. The task of the single fund for global financing is to supply the right amount of means of exchange at society's request. How will this work? Society decides what needs to be improved, created, and what projects and initiatives to implement. Experts will use the artificial intelligence to calculate how much money is needed to achieve those goals. And the single fund for global financing will create the necessary amount of money. If there is a request for the implementation of a project in a village, city, or country, an application is submitted to the electoral platform. For example, if a city decides to replace its asphalt pavement, it submits a request and funds are allocated for this from the single fund for global financing. It's just like in the family. You know what everyone needs and you allocate money from the family budget to buy the necessary goods, pants, sneakers, a piano. It's the same at the city and global levels. The only difference is that our budget as a society is not limited. We can spend as much as we want if there is something to spend on and we need it. This approach does not limit the development of the economy. The economy develops and our opportunities increase. In the new economic model, there will be no budgets of cities and countries. There will be no such thing as state money either. The only place where money can accumulate is your personal account. And you yourself dispose of it as you please. If a country, city, or village has a budget, there will inevitably be those who will try to make a profit from that budget, local officials and others. And when there is no budget, it cannot be taken away. And this is the answer to the question of why there will be no corruption, theft, and bureaucracy. There won't be a situation where the asphalt pavement was changed last year and this year it is changed again, and someone makes money on it.
Oh, we got to stop. We got to talk about that. Corruption. There's a lot of that going on now. And our tax dollars go to different projects, supposedly. What's the highway? Is it Highway 99 where we live? It's like money has been continually going to this highway for like 3-4 decades, even before me and you existed on this earth. And it's still not fixed. I'm like, where's the money going? And then the high-speed rail that we keep hearing about, this high-speed train, I don't know how many more years we're gonna hear about it, but someone bragged to me about how much money they were being paid and doing nothing. That's what he's talking about. That becomes no more. And when Talib breaks down that whole AI technology, that'll be another segment, you'll have a better understanding how AI is your friend. Do not be afraid of AI. We are in control of AI. AI can't just operate by itself and take over the world like in Terminator, like in the movies we've seen. And Talib breaks that down, and that'll be another episode. But the corruption, we see how many city, state, and local governments, this corruption thing, you know, it's really bad. In the U.S. government, we see the corruption. Even some of the nonprofit organizations, as of late, we just got some news about that corruption, and money that we were helped to allocate just disappeared. And no more of that. It's not based on one person deciding to just be able to profit from that.
you know, it's the corruption is real. It's sad to deal with the corruption part, because the ones that doing the corruption are the ones that's typically the politicians are and they control the enforcements and everything else, so they get away with it. So, you know, it's just, and it's annoying, it's tragic. They get paid off, and you see it, and they just go right about their business, and the people suffer from it.
And there's no policing of them.
No, and especially in the black community. That's why in the black community, is you see the ghettos. What we call in America, the black community is the ghettos. And the people that's watching this understand
elsewhere too.
They got the ghettos out there, and it keeps getting extremely difficult to get the resource for even education. You look at some of the education out there and wonder why this student is not progressing, or why this person is not elevating to another level. You see the corruption within the school systems. So, you know, it's time for a change. It's time for a better society. It's time for a better life. It's time for a better reality. And a creative society is a way, is a methodology.
Oh, it's the only way. I am convinced.
And it's also the only way.
The only way.
Yes.
So when we look at student debt, that is horrendous today, that some of us as adults past 30, past 40 are still paying for student debt. And it's like a lifetime unless someone comes in and pays it for you. And that's like happened at, what was the university? Black College at Morehouse. And the billionaire came and paid for all the students just for that class. That's not for everybody. Some of us still have student debt to this day. I mean, how do you feel about that?
Well, when you're dealing with student debt, it's kind of like you trapped. So now you trapped working a job, and you have to pay a job you don't like, but you have to pay it. They just garnish it off of your check every single month, and it follows you anywhere you go. It affects your credit. It affects whatever you're trying to do. It's like having imaginary shackles on your feet, or to where you can't really make certain moves that you want to make in business or in life. And that makes it very challenging for you to get ahead or to breathe.
And why should a student who wants to learn and have a higher education have to be in debt to learn? Have to be in debt just to be able to get by in society, to be able to make more money? Because there's certain, like doctors and lawyers, certain degrees that you have to have even to work those professions. But look how much it costs to go to medical school. Look how much it costs to go to law school. We know that from personal experience. And so we know that these costs of debt hold back people who could be going so much further in life if they weren't held back just by that. Just by that alone. Student debt.
Yes.
Student debt. And so these are the things that we were talking about in this second part, this part 2. We're going to have to do a part 3. So you'll see us in the same clothes because we're just doing the part 3, because this is like the same day for us, but we're breaking it down for you all in these episodes because it's a lot of information. It's a lot for us to break down, and what we've been breaking down to those of you who just joined us is a global crisis. There is a way out. The International Forum that we had April 2023, from scientists from all over the world, economists from all over the world who know their stuff, and shared it with us, the plan, the actual plan of action to help get us going in this creative society. And where we are leaving off in this episode is just breaking down the difference between a consumer-driven society, which is what we live in today, where all of us are struggling, whether it's the rat race or having to work 3 or 4 jobs or working till our fingers, working our fingers to the bone, whatever that case might be. That's consumer-driven, what we're having to deal with right now. Those of you who might be unhappy on your jobs right now, and you're like, oh, I gotta go wake up in the morning, go to this job that I hate. I have heard my friends say that so many times, and they always say, oh, you're lucky, you have your own business. What? You have no idea how hard it is working our own business. We work even more, even longer, hours and weekends. And luckily we enjoy what we do, but it's so much more work. And that's what I want to leave off today with this thought. But you got to join us in part 3, We thought it was going to be 2 parts, but
Yes.
it's part 3. We're going to break it down further as far as how this all works. They've already laid it out to you that there's a plan. I promise you there's a plan. No need to be worried about AI technology. And we'll again look at that episode when Tali in the International Forum discussed how the AI part's going to work. Like I said, it was a 12-hour forum. A lot to break down. So you've been listening to the Black experience of being human in the creative society. So glad that you could join us because I'm in. Are you in?
I'm absolutely in.
My name is Dudley Najieb. Thank you for joining us. Join us in part 3. Until the next episode.